We will start in a couple of minutes. We are just waiting for a couple of more people to join. Hello everyone. So let's start with this presentation. So my name is Tomáš Jelinek. I am working for Red Hat from the Brno office on the oVirt project. I am mostly interested in the UI part, but I have some comments also on the engine. If you want to get in touch with me, you can write me a mail to the jelinek@redhat.com, or I'm hanging on the oVirt channel of the IRC OFT CNET as Jelinek. And also, this is the place where to write some questions for this presentation today. So during this presentation, if you have any question after it, just write to me on this our channel. So I'm going to talk about the instance types, which is the feature of the 3.5 oVirt. Some agenda. Instance types are basically a different type of a template. We have decided to implement them because we have identified some problems with the template, and I will try to explain what these problems are. Then I'm going to explain what an instance type is and how it is supposed to improve the situation or solve these problems. I would explain how to use the instance types. It means how they behave, how the VMs behave, and the instance types are in the game, and so on. Then we will dive a little bit deeper, both to the some implementation details, and design decisions, and also some specific fields which are on the instance types, because there are different kinds of fields, and this can be a little bit tricky to understand. So I will try to explain it. And then the instance types are in 3.5. But there are some things which didn't make it to the 3.5, so hopefully they will land in 3.6, and I will explain this stuff in the future work. So moving to the next slide. So what is a template? If you want to create a template, you first create a VM. Configure it completely, including the disk, install some operating system and whatever you want, and then you create a template out of this VM. So the template then bundles everything. It bundles the hardware part of the VM, such as how many memory does it have, and processors and devices and everything, and also the software part. So what kind of operating system is installed on this VM, what disk does it have, and stuff like this. So if you want to create, for example, a small Windows VM template and a small Linux VM template, you need two different templates, even though the hardware may be the same. Then the problem is also that they are cluster dependent. So if you want these two templates to have on two different clusters, you need to have them on both clusters. So it makes 4 different templates. And also, if the user, any user which can use this template, can basically change anything when creating a VM from it. So if I create a template like small machine, which has about, I don't know, a gig of memory, and the user can create a new VM from this template and change this field to, I don't know, 8 gigs of memory. Okay, so these are the problems with the template. Moving to the next slide, the instance type. So the instance type is a subset of the template, and subset means that it is only the hardware part of the VM, so memory, CPU, devices, and stuff like this. So this hardware part can be then combined with any software. So you can use for example, small instance type, that you can create small Windows machines from it, and small Linux machines from it, and small any machines from it. Then the instance types are cluster independent. It means that they are global. You don't need to duplicate the same configuration from different clusters. And they are also global for all users. So now I'm going to explain how to use the instance types and how they behave. So first of all, creating and editing and deleting the instance type is in the configure part, since they are global. So it's the top right corner of the web admin and the configure, and there's a new side tab called instance types, and then you have the list of instance type and new edit and remove buttons. When you install a clean engine 3.5, you will be provided by 5 different instance types. These are the default instance types. But as you can see, there are no special mark next to them, something like a chain or key or something like this, nothing like this, because these are the defaults, but they are not locked. So the system doesn't expect them to be there, or doesn't depend on them to be there. So you can freely delete them or modify them or create some new ones and so on. These are just the default one. So if you pick any of them and click the edit button, you will be provided by the familiar edit dialog. It's the same dialog as the edit VM dialog, but doesn't contain all the fields as the edit VM dialog. Just a subpart or edit instance type dialog, let's say, just a subpart of it. For example, this is the general screen. And you can see that there are nothing cluster dependent, so you cannot pick the cluster, for example. And also there's no operating system, nor quota or nothing like this. You have only the name and the description. And also, as you can see, there is the configuration of the network interfaces, because the network interfaces are the hardware part of the VM. But when you want to select the specific profile for the network interface, there is the only one available, and it's the empty. So it means that you create an instance type with some network interfaces, but when you want to create a VM from this instance type, you will need to fill in the specific profiles which are available on the cluster on which you are creating the VM. Moving to the next slide, it's about the deleting of the instance type. So imagine you have a VM which is, or if you have no VMs which are based on the instance type or attached to the instance type, there is nothing special about deleting it. But if you have a VM which is attached to an instance type, so you have an instance type, you create a VM from this instance type, and then you want to delete the instance type. You can do this. The system doesn't prevent you to do this from doing it, but you will be warned and that the VM will be detached from the instance type, so it will be based on the so-called custom instance type. I will be talking about the custom later on, but just to mention that you can delete an instance type and it will just detach all the VMs from it. Okay, now this is the VM dialog. So if you open a new VM dialog, the header section contains newly the instance type part, and you can select from it. And also in the button, and if you select some instance type, all the configuration from this instance type is going to be copied to this dialog, to this new VM. It's important to note that since the instance type is cluster independent, you can configure anything you want. For example, random generator device. And but the random generated device is available only since 3.5, I believe. I believe only since 3.5. And if you want to create a new VM in the 3.4 cluster, you still can use this instance type 3.5, which contains this configuration. Just this configuration will be just ignored. Other thing to note here is that the NIC section, the network interface section, it has copied the network interface from the instance type, but you have to fill in the specific profile. So moving to the next slide, I was talking already about the attached and detached instance type. So here is what it means. If you have a VM and you select an instance type, then there are some fields which are considered to be special. I will be talking about this also later on, but there are some fields which if you change, then you will be detached from the instance type. If you don't change them, you will still be based on this instance type. So if you are attached to an instance type, you will see the chain icon as joined. And it means that if you change any field on the instance type, all the VMs which are attached to it will also be, all the VMs will be updated accordingly. If you change any of these special fields, the chain icon becomes separated, as seen on the right-hand side, and then any changes to the instance type will not affect this VM anymore. By changing this to detached, the instance type changes to custom. And this custom means that it is basically none, or in template it's called blank. So it's my custom instance type, so no instance type basically. So let's say I change this field back, and I am still based on the large instance type, and save this dialog to create a new VM. And then if I change the instance type to have, I don't know, 4 processors, then all the VMs, so including this mine VM, would have the CPU changed to 4. By the way, this applies only after the restart of the VM. Okay, now the instance creator role. If you, it's a special role. It's a special new role introduced in 3.5, and it applies only if you want to use the user portal. It doesn't apply on the web admin. And its meaning is that it is a user which has this role assigned is a user which can create new VMs, but only from instance types, and is not allowed to change basically any fields of this instance type. So he is able to create a VM, pick an instance type, pick some template, and pick the name basically, and that's it. So he is allowed to go to the power user portal, create some VMs, but not to do too much configuration. So on the next slide, you see how this new VM dialog looks like then in the user portal for the user which has this instance creator role assigned. So he can pick, for example, this large instance type. On the left-hand side, you see that he has significantly less setups than the normal. He has only system, console, and boot options. And also the content of these setups are significantly less rich. For example, the system has only the time zone. So nothing like CPU, memory, and stuff like this. Okay, so this was how the instance types are behaving, and how the VMs are behaving when using instance types. Now I'm going to dive a little bit deeper. First of all, I was talking about when I was talking about creating the VM, I was using words like some of the fields and important fields and so on. So now I'm going to explain exactly what did I mean. So the instance type has, or the VM, to be more general, has lots of different fields, and then they can be divided into different groups according to different criteria. One of the criteria is the source. So when you create a VM from an instance type, where does this field come from? What's the origin? So, for example, the most simple one is the field which is specific for the VM. This is a VM name, so the user has to provide it. It doesn't come from anywhere else. Then there is a field, a kind of fields which are originated on the template only, or the user, of course, can override them. And this is, for example, time zone. Then there are fields which are defined only on instance type and not on template. And so if you create a VM from this, it comes from the instance type. For example, oVirt or SCSI. And then there are fields which are taken from the instance type if it's defined. If it's not, then they are taken from the template, and if it's not provided, then the user is filling it in. This is, for example, the watchdog. So then other criteria how you can divide the field is if it detaches the VM from the instance type or not. Because the instance type has lots of fields, most of the fields are considered to be important enough. Then if you change them, the VM gets detached from the instance type. This is the most fields, for example, the memory size, or any device, basically. But there are some specific fields which are taken from the instance types, but you can change them without detaching the VM from the instance type. For example, the number of monitors, you can increase that. The last criteria how you can divide it is the is the instance creator role. According to the instance creator role, if the user can change them or not. Most of the fields he cannot change. So this is, for example, the memory size, but he can change some fields. For example, the boot sequence he can change. He can decide that he wants to boot from a specific CD-ROM, for example. Okay, so moving to the next slide, you see a part of the table, a big table from the wiki page. The link to the wiki page will be provided on the last slide. Is a feature page of the instance types, and what I was trying to explain on the previous slide, this enumerates all the fields of the VM, and in this table it is explained to what category they belong to. So, for example, the first the first column means that the name of the field, for example, memory size. The second column explains some description what this field is for, or what is it. Then the next column is the template. So if this field is present on the template or not. For example, the vmtguid, which is the template, is not present on the template because the template cannot be based on other template. Ignore the image column. I will explain this on the future work part. Then in the instance type, so you can see if it is present on the instance type or not. For example, the template is not present because the instance type is not based on template, but for example, the memory size is present on the instance type. And then the last section is the VM, and there's an important part is this present. It's the same meaning as for other entities. And then there are three different columns. One is the advanced only. Its meaning is that if you open a new VM dialog or dialogues like this, on the bottom left corner you have this button show advanced options or hide advanced options. So if it is advanced only yes, it means that it is visible only when you select the advanced options. If it's no, then it means that it is visible all the time. The second column is a basic user. This is if it is editable for the user which has this create instance role assigned. So for example, the VM name is editable for him and the memory size is not. And then the marked, this is that little chain icon next to some fields. This means if this field is significant enough that by changing it you detach your VM from the instance type. And then the onCreate section column, it says that where the field is originated from. So for example, the memory size, it instance/template/user. It means that if you create a VM, then if the instance type is defined, then it is taken from the instance type. If not, then if the template is present, it is taken from the template. And if not, then the user can pick it or configure it. This table then goes on and it accommodates all the fields of the VM, or hopefully all the fields. And if you will be in doubt that how some specific fields behaves and where is it, you should find it in this table. Okay, now moving on to the implementation details. I will not be too specific on this part because there is not too much rocket science behind it. Basically, as I was saying, that instance type is basically just a template. This is true both from logical perspective and also implementation-wise. So the instance, I mean the Java instance of a VM template is also an instance of an instance type, or well, more the opposite way around. And to find out, so you have a VM template class and you have a method get template type on it. And using this, you can distinguish if this template is an instance type or a template. It's an enumeration. And also you have then interfaces like instance type and, instance type. It's enough for this talk. Okay, and then the commands which are manipulating the instance types are the same which are manipulating the template. So add VM template command, update VM template command, and so on. these are used. One thing to note is that that act of updating all the VMs when you change the instance type, it is done in the update VM template command as a part of this command. Now the front-end implementation. It is in most cases it is very straightforward. You have the instance type list model and then the child of the AppSec VM pop-up widget, of instance type pop-up widget, and all of this stuff in the same way as all the other dialogues are done and all the other stuff are done. Notable here is the instance type manager and the instance type attach manager. The instance type manager basically extracted the logic from all the behavior classes which were copying the data from the template to the VM or to the pool. So basically got rid of lots of copy paste and concentrate this inside the instance type manager, which is taking care of copying the fields from the instance type to the VM or pool. Interesting is that it is taking care of this also for the edit VM, because since the instance type is only the hardware profile, you can also edit it, which is not true for the template. If you are based on some template, you cannot change it, but if you are based on some instance type, you can change it also after creating the VM. And then the other important class is instance type attach manager. It is listening on the changes of the model. It knows which are the significant fields on the unit VM model. This significant, I mean this marked. And if some of them changes, then it attaches your VM from the pool from the instance type. And also it is able to find out if you change the field back, then it attaches your VM back. Okay, so some future work. Instance types are one side of the story is the hardware. Currently, if you want to create a VM and you want to from the instance type and you want to attach some images to it, pre-created images to it, you need to use the template. So you can create a VM from instance type and template, where the template provides the operating system and disks. But in the future, we would like to have the same way as we extracted the hardware to instance types, we would like to extract the software to images. So it would contain some the image and then some meta configuration like the operating system or kernel path, kernel params, and this very disk-related stuff. And then you would be able to create a new VM from instance type and a couple of images. Other thing which would be nice if we had these images would be that we could have an image imported from, for example, from Glance, and we would not import it as a template, how we are doing it today, but we would import it as an image, and then we could say that, okay, pick this image and run me this image as on a small instance type, and it will fire up a new instance of this image. So it would kind of turn around the way how we create new VMs. And also what is not yet there is the quota support. It is not really decided if it should be there or not. Some cloud providers do have some kind of quota in the instance type. For example, the Amazon EC2 has the quotas as a part of the instance type. For us, it would be a little bit tricky because the quotas are cluster dependent, where the instance types are not. So we would need some intermediate, like abstract quota or something like this. So I would say that this instance type needs to have a quota like, I don't know, small. And then on each specific cluster, I would have to say that the small quota means on this cluster, this quota. This is not really decided. This is something that would be good to discuss. So this is all from my side. The promised link to the instance types feature page to the wiki is under the thank you part. So I'd like to thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask on IRC, on the oVirt channel, or under the video. I'm hanging here for a sec. If some questions will come, and if not, then I will close this session. So let's see. Okay, it seems that there are no more questions or no questions. In case someone would like to ask anything, I will be hanging on this oVirt channel, and I'm hanging there all the time. Or you can write me an email to the mentioned address. So thank you for the attention, and wish you a nice day. Bye.